Welcome to A Second Helping with Allison Bartow, a wedding photography podcast with a focus on second shooting. On this week's episode, we have a couple of very laid-back wedding coordinators. We have poppy seeds in the teeth for the first look, and a groom that surprises everybody with a bagpipe performance during wedding party formals.
Let's pack a bag and follow the sun. Kick off your shoes and have some fun.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. I am on 202, headed to Philly. I am on my way to the Please Touch Museum. I am going to meet Amanda. We are going to rendezvous at the loading dock, take our lighting gear into the venue and stash it in the venue coordinator's office with her permission. And then we will make our way over to the hotel. So I left my house at 9:30, which has me getting there like an hour and a half ahead of time. 63 and cloudy right now. I haven't really double checked the weather. Last I heard, there wasn't going to be any rain. We're only going to be outside for a little bit today, so it's not super concerning. It'd be nice if it didn't rain. We are going in heavy with flashes and light stands. So my light stand bag that I'm dropping off, it is my rolling light stand bag that I have a love-hate relationship with. I hate it only because it's still big and gets really heavy. And when you can't roll it, it's really a pain to pick up and carry when you're carrying other stuff. However, on the plus side, it's super durable. The wheels are great. They glide super smoothly. You can load it up. I think right now I have 5 light stands in there. You know, all the heads for the light stands. I've got an extra pair of shoes. I've got a water bottle in there. I've got some snacks. I've got bungees. I've got a couple of umbrellas, I think. So you can really load a lot of things in there. I'm also bringing for Amanda the mag box, the 24-inch mag box for carousel portraits. So we've got a lot of stuff, which conveniently we're going to be able to leave, and then we'll head over to the hotel. So she's been in communication with her assistant Josh and I this morning, checking in. She sent over from the coordinator revised detail sheets yesterday, so I printed those off last night. I want to cross-reference them with what I already had printed off. Our biggest challenges today, I think, will be just making sure we've got the lighting set up the way that Amanda wants it for the museum, ceremony, reception, introductions, and then the number of shots on the shot list. So it's broken up into like post first look, pre-ceremony, and then post-ceremony, and then like reception. But it's still a lot. It's always tough to have a checklist like that you have to keep referring back to. It feels really good once you've checked all of those things off, but it's nerve-wracking up until then because you don't want anybody to get left off. Left off, left out. If you get left off, you get left out. So that's it. I'm excited to meet the couple. They seem great. It should be a good day. There is at 11 p.m. a surprise guest appearance. I think it said with costume. So I'm not sure who that is. They live in New York, and I was asking the other day, like, what their roots are in this area, and I don't quite remember what the answer was, so I don't know if they're, like, big sports people. I don't know if it's going to be, like, the Fanatic. I don't think the Mummers show up. It doesn't sound like them. If you say guest appearance at 11, that's kind of late, but who knows. So I'm on my way to the Please Touch Museum. I've only pulled over twice. I pulled over twice. I pulled over once because I realized that the directions weren't actually going to where I wanted to go, so I plugged those back in. And then a second time when Amanda referenced how weird it was for her to be leaving her 105 macro lens at home on her desk. I'm bringing her mine, and I had double checked it, but when she sent that text message, I was like, I'm going to triple check. So I pulled over one more time to just make sure it was still in my bag. So I've pulled over twice so far. So we'll see.
Let's pack a bag and follow the sun. Kick off your shoes and have some fun.
Hey guys, 12:30 on 76 on my way home. It was great working with Amanda. Her assistant Josh is everything she said he was. He was really great. The people, the bride and groom, they were nice. It feels like I've never met such an educated group of people that were also kind of like oblivious at the same time. The biggest issue was just time and the fact that they were trying to do way too much in not enough time, and not a single person outside of us had any sense of urgency or any desire to move things forward. And it was just really crazy. I like not a single, like a lot of times you will have like that one sister, that one bridesmaid who, even if you can get the timeline caught back up, she gets nervous, and she's been in a wedding before and she saw things go sideways. So she starts like nagging. Nope, I would have killed for one of those today. They all proceeded at the same pace as though there was nothing else we had going on or coming up on the timeline. The guys were okay for prep. They were really nice. They didn't seem to know when, and they all had timelines on their phones, but like they didn't know when to get dressed. So I had to, tell the groom when to get dressed rather. And then we find out that he doesn't have his shoes. He's wearing his dad's shoes. The mom has them. They can't get the mom on the phone. And like the groom is like, Dad, I need you to get the shoe. Like this, like 6 times was like, where's mom? I need mom to bring the shoes. Dad, can you get in touch with mom? Like, and finally he was like, I don't know what you need to do. If you need to call her, if you need to go outside in the hallway, if you need to go to the room, if you need to, like, it was bizarre. And so finally they found her with the shoes. But we pushed back. They said we pushed back like 10 minutes, I think, our departure time. And we got to Rittenhouse Square. We walked there, and by the time the bride got there, it was 30 or 40 minutes past when we were supposed to start. And apparently it was really either tense or just a lot going on in bride prep. It sounds like there was a lot of people in the space that were kind of weighing in. A lot of people were weighing in with opinions, it sounds like, and it was just confusing everything. I think the bride started to get upset and maybe started crying in hair and makeup. So we started late with first look, and then those pictures look great. And then bridal party, we had a huge shot list. Family photos, bridal party photos, and then post-ceremony photos, and then reception photos. And there were kids, and I mean, kids can be cute at weddings and photos, but like kids in real life at weddings are, I mean, I feel like 9 times out of 10, it's just a lot of work and they're not really enjoying it. And I know that's probably pretty age dependent as well, but it was hard. There were, I think, 5 little kids. 3 of them were like baby to 2. And so just trying to get them in a picture, and then we're doing other shots and getting out of order to try to accommodate like where they are. And then you needed the parents to be in the photo, but the parents without the kids, and the kids wanted to be with the parents. And then you'd get that photo and they were with the grandparents, but then you need the grandparents in the photo, and the kids don't want to go to anybody else. And so you're all standing on, the sidewalk in Rittenhouse Square, trying to make sure no one gets hit by a car. I was wholly unimpressed by the 2 wedding coordinators that were there. And my first red flag was Jackie, oh my gosh, my first red flag was Amanda and I were in the hotel lobby getting set up, memory cards, formatting, chatting lenses. And all of a sudden it's like 10 till. And we were like, all right, well, we've got to go up without the wedding coordinators. So then we go over to the front desk and we're literally carrying all this camera equipment and gear, dressed in all black. And we explained that we're there for the bride and groom, which rooms are in, we need to go up. And the woman at the hotel was like, I can like buzz you up. And then we were like, right. And I knew exactly what's going to happen. We need to be on the 11th floor and the 15th floor. And you can't then move between the floors. And she wouldn't help us. And the guy there was like, well, we can just give them cards, like just call up. And she didn't want to do it. And so thankfully he said it a couple times, so finally she did. But it was just kind of crazy. Like we're there to help you. And the hotel also told them ahead of time, even if it rains, you can't take photos on the premise, like no photos on site. So that was the hotel experience. And then the coordinators show up at like 5 till and just kind of laid back. And so that was like my first indicator that, I don't know, they weren't going to be like J-Lo in the movie. So we're back at Rittenhouse Square. We're doing the family photos, and it's just painstakingly slow as far as getting these people to where they need to be. And then they started coming up with like other combinations. And I don't even know how far into it we were when I started hearing family members saying like, well, let's just get mom and dad. So they were taking photos that didn't even have the bride and groom in them. Like, what are you going to do with those photos? What are they for? So then the one coordinator who couldn't even help to make sure a car wasn't going to hit Amanda, like all she had to do was stand there. I was doing the names on the list. They were not, the other coordinator was like wandered off. I have no idea where she was because we still had people wandering down the sidewalk, getting in Amanda's frame in the shot, thinking they're being really funny, trying to photobomb, and just dragging everything out. And then the coordinator, one of the coordinators tells me like, well, we have like a hard stop because the shuttle has to go back to pick up guests. So she like kept giving me different numbers and different times. And then finally she was like, I mean, you have 10 minutes. 15 is like the absolute latest. And so we're trying to, and I couldn't, nobody else would hurry. Not a single person was like, mom or, sister, we got to go. Like nobody. So we had to skip a few of the groupings. We reconfigured like where we were going to do some other things. And then we get on the trolley and they mention either Love Park or Broad Street. This was not on the list. This was never mentioned to Amanda. It was not on the timeline. It hadn't. And so God bless her, she's calling over to the wedding coordinators and trying to get in touch with them. Also, they had the bride and groom's cell phones and they took them with them in their car. Like, I don't know how that's not part of your routine to like hand those back or ask who they would like to hold on to them when they're, so Amanda's getting them time. Can we do this? Can we do this? And the groom also realizes that he didn't get any cash to tip anybody. So he's trying to remember phone numbers of people to call with somebody else's phone to see if he can have them get him cash. So we end up nixing Love Park. Like the bride and groom went back and forth and Amanda was going to do whatever they wanted to do. But then something had to give. So finally we decided just to go back to the venue and do wedding party portraits and the rest of the family portraits. And so it was just like lining people up. One would kind of wander off and then not come back, or you would say like, all right guys, we're going to go over here and take these portraits. And then somebody would be talking and then nobody would move. Like, it's just weird. Like you're watching people waiting for them to like come meet you, like we all just agreed on, and then they just weren't. And so, but you're smiling and being polite and everything. And then Amanda was ready for me to bring the guys over, and the groom got out a set of bagpipes. So he was playing the bagpipes. So then everyone's taking a video of that, and we're doing that. And then we wrap up wedding party portraits. We are doing some more family photos, and they start coming up with other configurations, like just off the top of their head. And then they would do like bride and groom parents, sisters, kids. But then they would do groom step out and do all of the same pictures with like just the bride. I'm sure there's a time and a place where that might make a little bit of sense to some extent, but not for every grouping. Like, what are you going to do with those photos? God forbid they break up and get divorced. Are you going to keep the picture of your daughter in her wedding dress and you, because thank God you have one without her groom? No. So, but they want it like every configuration, and very rarely do they come across a combination where they can say, you know what, we're good, we don't need that. They were actually just adding more. And so at one point, the bride's sister came over and said, can I get a picture of me and my husband and my kids? And I said, oh my gosh, absolutely. Just grab one of us at the reception. We would love to take it. And she was like, okay. We are behind at this point. We are like an hour behind. And we are now cutting into like the ceremony. We're not cutting into the ceremony time. We're cutting into like the stuff that leads right up to getting to the altar. Like you're going to butt right up against it. And we still have to set up lights. We haven't even been inside yet. We dropped off our light stands in the morning, but we still have to get all of that stuff. I had to get all my stuff out and unpacked. Josh had actually pulled some of Amanda's stuff out, but like we still haven't been inside. So then the mom says to Amanda, like, can I get this picture? And Amanda was like, yes. Then they weren't ready. And then Amanda was like, do you mind doing it? I said, absolutely. That's totally fine. I can do that. So I go over. It's the sister and her family that she had just asked me about. So it was just crazy to me that like you just completely ignored what I had said when like there's a reason behind. I was polite, but you can see that we're behind. You all have a timeline. And then, the grandfather wants a picture of just him and the grandkids because he didn't get one at the other girl's wedding. And the kids are throwing an absolute fit. So like, never mind. And we would start walking away, and then they'd be like, oh wait, we can do it. We would start going back, and then someone would throw a fit. And this went back and forth for like 5 minutes. Like it was just, and you didn't want to be like enough and leave. So you're trying to, but it was just like, it started to feel like we were being punked. How much everybody acted like they had no idea what time it was. And this is all their stuff. Like this is their timeline and their stuff. And watching it, if they haven't budged on any of this stuff, they're not going to want to budge on anything else. And we're already overflowing into that. So the longer you take with this, the more we're going to overflow the other stuff. And that's going to take longer, but we don't even, like, we're already eating into that time. So it was just like, and then the coordinators, I don't know where they were. They didn't like assist with anything. It was just very odd. We went inside right away. There's a problem with like the aisle. Like the aisle's too narrow. There was something else. The bride did not care for it, so they were working on that. I was setting up my light stands, and apparently the chairs were set up like further up than they normally are and like tighter. So we got our light stands and everything set up, and the bride said it was allotted 30 minutes for the ceremony. She said it's going to be a 30-minute ceremony. So I'm thinking like, okay, maybe like 25. They always say 30 minutes and then it's like 10 or 15 minutes. They had the dad get up and speak, the other dad get up and speak, the moms get up and speak, and they each gave a long speech. And I looked down and I'm just watching the time just tick away. This half-an-hour ceremony took an hour. So we were we're in a cocktail hour, and then we still had to do family photos family formals after. And the venue started like breaking down the flowers, and we'd have the flowers brought back, and then the chairs are in the way, we'd move the chairs out, and people, of course they're missing. Someone's in the bathroom. We're, just waiting for everyone, and it was just craziness. And then we find out that like the coordinators, we don't know if they knew about the Love Shot of the Broad Street, but it wasn't on the agenda. And then they didn't tell Amanda that the parents were like the officiants and were giving these speeches. Come to find out, they had had a meeting on Wednesday, and it took them an hour and a half to get through everything. So the coordinator said, like, you guys each have to carry your speech down to 2 minutes. Well, I'm sure everybody thought, well, let the other 3 do it, but I'm not cutting my speech down, because nobody's speech was 2 minutes long. But nobody gave Amanda the heads up, like, oh, hey, this could be an issue, or these are the people that are actually speaking. Like, it wasn't communicated to her at all. And so we ended up, they had to like delay cocktail hour. And then when bustling the bride, it took the wedding coordinators at least 10 minutes. And then she went into the reception space, and she did not like the head table. And I don't know if it was the flowers. There was something weird where it was like the long head table with everyone facing onto the dance floor, but on the ends, there was one person facing the other direction and 2 people at the other end facing. So at first I thought they were extra chairs that just hadn't been moved out. And then I realized that there were place settings there. That may have been what she was upset, but she was not happy. So, and then there was another group photo during cocktail hour. So I went with her to get that photo. So we were like still chipping away at this list. And then we did introductions. So everything was just a little bit behind, and we're moving through it. And then welcome speech. And then the parents gave toasts again. And I mean, it was just, I don't know what else they were going to mention, because we kind of went through it all. Best man and the sister speeches were fine. I think we got lots of angles, all of that. But then we still had these college groupings. We still needed to do like the iconic carousel photo. There was the Alice in Wonderland exhibit was on Amanda's list. And then there was a hora, cake cutting. There was, the groom was supposed to put his kilt on, and there was something else. And then things obviously had to just be cut. So I didn't even look to see how far behind we were. And we like all kind of came to the decision, like, let's try to get these college groupings done. Then we'll do the cake cutting. We told the coordinators, then we will go over, we'll set up the lights for the carousel. We'll come back, but we have to set the lights back up to light for the hora. So we have the college friends come out, and we're doing these groupings. And once again, let's do one with and without the plus ones. And then let's do this. And when we were doing family formals after the ceremony, I kid you not, the cousins photo, let's do it in height order. Then it was, let's do it in age order. Like, this was the kind of like, just, I know I said oblivious, but they're not oblivious. I don't know what the word is, like just a disregard for your own event. We get through those with all of the different iterations of that. And then sure enough, people want other groupings because they see the, pictures like, formal portraits. And so we're trying to get through those. So we make our way over to cake cutting. They cut the cake. They feed themselves the cake. Jackie and I shoot it. And the mother of the bride goes, wait, we didn't get it. Do it again. She's joking, but they don't know that. So they do the whole thing again. I looked at Amanda. It was like a cruel joke. Like, we are so tight on time, and you're having them reenact things because you think it's funny. Like, your daughter's already been upset. Things are getting like completely pushed back. So they do that whole thing over again. And then we got the carousel photo. And then the wedding coordinator texted us. I didn't see, because I wasn't looking at my phone. My watch was dead at this point. We bring our light stands back. And then as I'm walking onto the dance floor, she's like, we've got to do the hora. And I was like, well, hold on. I have to find Amanda. We had gone through this. We had said we need a few minutes to get the lights set up, but they just ignored us. All day, I felt like they would just nod and agree to things and have no intention of following through. I watched the one coordinator tell the one sister who was pregnant, and she was a little bit concerned because she had like a lot of more cleavage showing in her dress than she had anticipated. This coordinator said, well, I can sew it for you. And in my head, I'm thinking, there is no way you are sewing her dress that she's wearing right now. She didn't sew it. So many things I heard them say casually, like they were going to, pull some magic trick, just never happened. So I feel like they just ignored, like they just kind of nodded and then just ignored stuff. So many times when we were going over things during the reception, we would like agree to do something one way, and then they just kind of like did their own thing. We didn't see them for a while. We found out that we hadn't seen the one for a long time. And then we asked like, oh, did she go home? And they said, no, there are glow sticks and sunglasses, all these things that are supposed to come out on the dance floor. And they have all their stickers still on them. And they're like still individually wrapped. That is one of my pet peeves. Like when I owned the flower shop, if we were going to a wedding, and I know this might be extreme, but every single one of those votive candles or tea lights, all those wicks would be trimmed and ready to go. Anything that had a sticker on it or peeled off, like all of those things that you're going to have to do. And it's one thing that takes 5 seconds, but there's 500 of them. Do it and be done with it when you're not, instead of sitting like on the floor in some back room for an hour and a half during a wedding that has been running severely behind all day. So it was just I saw like no sense of urgency from them. And then the one just kept saying like, yeah, I want to get through this. I'm ready to go home. And I'm like, that's not the priority. We did the hora and then the dancing. I mean, the bride and groom seemed very happy. I don't know if they just thought like, oh, they'll figure it out. But it was like, you can't create more time. Like there's a hard stop to the night. So it's like, eventually we're just going to run out of time. It was just really weird because like I said, they were all very intelligent people, literally doctors, lawyers, engineers, more doctors. So it was beautiful. The flowers were gorgeous. Those bouquets took a beating I kept seeing like beautiful ranunculuses flying and roses coming off. But flowers are beautiful. The ceremony site was beautiful. I think that the family, I think all the photos that Amanda took are going to be great. I think the first look photos are beautiful. But there's 10,000 different family portrait options. So, but I mean, other than that, I don't know that there were any other issues, but it was just like this complete disregard for time. So I'm hoping that they don't look back and regret not getting any, like some of the more like the portraits of the bride and groom. I guess that was the thing that's weird to me. When it's your wedding day and you're getting married at a place like the Please Touch Museum, and you end up having to cut your bride and groom portraits at really cool, iconic locations because you've done all of these family portrait iterations with some of them, you're not even in them. And I think that's what I find to be really strange. At the end of the day, I hope that they're happy. The photos, I think, are going to be great. We really worked incredibly hard. And that's that. I can't wait to go through the photos and check them out. The reception stuff, I had 3 off-camera flashes, so I think some of those look good. There's probably going to be a fair amount of junk, but hopefully we're good. Amanda was having an issue with some of her flashes overheating, which we're just not sure why that was happening because they hadn't been used that much and they weren't at a super high power setting. So she ended up doing some shutter drag towards the end of the night, and then I was shooting like a lot of flash then for the dance floor. So I'm going to go through those and see how they look. The other thing that was weird was that during the ceremony, all of a sudden my Z6 II started shooting, and it was coming up with like a blue color cast. The Z8 was totally fine. And then the Z6 II would like pop back one photo to like the warm ambient colors that were in the room with flash, and then go back to this blue. And like I turned the camera off, I switched lenses, I turned the flash off, I turned it back. I don't know what was going on. I double checked. The white balance was on white balance auto, preserve overall atmosphere. And so nothing was changed there, but hopefully Amanda will just be able to make like the overall white balance adjustments to those. But I didn't want to start messing around with it during the ceremony. So I'm going to go through and see also if there's like any differences I can see like in the settings, like from one picture to the next, but it didn't seem to have any rhyme or reason. Alrighty. I'm almost home. Good night.
Let's pack a bag and follow the sun. Kick off our shoes and have some fun.
I am back and feeling less intense than I was on the ride home. I think my adrenaline was really pumping. For the photos, 3,380 over 10 and a half hours, which gave me 322 per hour, which I think with the party dancing, it really pumped it up there, because there were times during the day, like with family portraits, where I wasn't shooting nearly that much. I also went through and kind of spot checked the times on the photos versus the timeline, and we weren't off by that much, but I think just the pace with which they were moving made it feel like it was taking longer. And we were supposed to, like me and the groom and I were supposed to leave at 2:10. He started getting ready 18 minutes late. So I think I felt like right out of the gate a little bit of nerves, because he didn't have his shoes and they were trying to track that down. And then he got dressed, and then the mom was like, "Did you brush your hair?" And he said no. And we made our way down. He and I were in Rittenhouse Square for, how long was it? From 2:22 to 3:07. So we were like 45 minutes. He and I were hanging out in Rittenhouse Square. First look was supposed to happen at 2:30. It didn't happen until 3:07. And that was just because the bride was running late, and there was a lot of anxiety and all of that going on with the getting ready portion with all the family members there. Family photos started 25 minutes late. And then we actually got caught back up on time when we got back to the venue. But the reason it probably felt more stressful for us was because that was also on the ride back that we found out they were planning on going to one or two other locations that the wedding planners didn't put on the timeline. And then we had our portraits. License signing was only 8 minutes behind. The ceremony started 8 minutes behind, but it was supposed to only be half an hour, and it ended up being almost a full hour. It was terrible. I checked. It was 9 minutes to bustle her dress, which doesn't sound like a long time, but it also does sound like a long time. Like when you want to go to cocktail hour and you're just standing there while people are underneath your dress trying to find the little buttons and stuff. Guests entering reception room was 25 minutes behind. Introductions and first dance was like 28 minutes behind. 17 minutes behind for speeches, 20 minutes for parent dances. The toasts were like 25 minutes behind. And then we had cake cutting was half an hour behind. And then we had our carousel photo, which got bumped. So that was like an hour and a half off of the timeline. And then the whirl was a full hour later. So I think like at the end, then that's also where it just felt rushed, because you feel like time is flying by. And in retrospect, I really think that the wedding coordinators didn't help very much didn't help the issue and didn't help that much during the day. Just, I'd mentioned before, like they were sort of dismissive, like they just weren't bothered by anything. And I know you don't want to look bothered or look like things are out of control, but they just didn't seem to get fazed at all. Like there wasn't enough of a reaction. So looking through the photos, I have candids from Groom Prep. They were really funny because the congrats, they'd gone to play racquetball in the morning and someone had hung a congrats balloon sign there and they brought it back and it was all messed up. So they actually took it all apart and like restrung it. So I have candids of that because it was actually, a sweet moment of the groomsmen putting it all back together. And then they really weren't moving around too much in the room. So I just have some candids. It's not the best light. I tried to capture anything that was happening. I'm okay with the details and the lighting. Obviously, I was able to use the natural light coming in the window for that. But then just some of the angles I don't love in the lighting when I tried to get people that were like further into the room. And then where he got dressed, it wasn't the best light. So they're okay. I think Amanda has feedback for me on that. And then different white balances in the room. I always like when I'm able to capture actual candids of parents helping them put their ties on or things like that. I really don't like faking it or reenacting it. So it's nice when it's actually happening. His sister was there for a lot of it, which was nice. And then we have some photos in Rittenhouse, some portraits of him. I didn't even realize I only got like tight shots of him. I have like 3/4 length and like a tight shot. And I didn't get, in all that time that we were waiting, like a full length shot. I don't know if I was like getting nervous. And then I have just him sitting on the bench writing out his vows, which he spent a long time doing. The first look, so Amanda had me shoot with a 35 and an 85. And then at one point she said, like, stick with the 85. So I was like, all right. And if someone tells me stick with something, I'm going to keep doing that. And pretty much until I'm told to stop. So I stuck with that. And she was funny because every now and then she'd be like, are you still on the 85? And I was like, and she's like, oh my God, thank you. So it was nice. Like she appreciated it. But I was like, if you tell me to shoot with that, that's what I'll shoot with. Those were good. I think the struggle as a second for things, like the background was on a nice brick building with windows and stuff, but trying to get different angles and not be in the way, but also get the composition where we don't have things like coming out of like windows coming out of his head or gutters and things like that. So I tried to be aware of that. And then I just really stayed on the 85. So I was super tight. But then like when stuff started happening with our veil, I needed to back up. Those are pretty good. And then I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier. So in addition to not brushing his hair, after their first look, that was Knox telling me that the refrigerator broke. It didn't, but we've had a year of refrigerator issues. So after the first look, the bride pointed out that he had like something in his teeth. And then she goes, did you have an everything bagel? And he was like, yeah. So he had a poppy seed in his teeth. And then she found another one. So in addition to not brushing his hair, I don't think he brushed his teeth. And it's an everything bagel. Now, I thought I had seen something. However, everybody has different teeth and different things going on with their teeth. I am not going to tell someone the first day I meet them, oh, it looks like you have something in your teeth, only to find out that that's just what their teeth look like. You know, like it's their wedding day. So I had seen something, but I didn't know. And it wasn't like so crazy that, it wasn't like spinach. But it took him a couple minutes. I think he used a stem from the bouquet to try to get it out. And then her veil blew over him in a really sweet, nice, natural way. So instead of the cheesy posed veil shots, it's actually authentic and organic. The lighting was good over there. I think Amanda was happy with my angles. And like I said, I just kept shooting on the 85 because anytime she asked, she seemed super happy that that's what I was still doing. So I got tight shots and I backed up a little bit for some of them. He loved dipping her, and he would dip her really deep. Like she sort of bent at the waist backwards, and then he would like cradle the back of her head. So it was like really deep down, but, and they'd hold it for a while, which was great. So I know earlier I was like, Amanda's flashes were overheating. And then I was like, my one flash had like, my one camera was blue. I went back through and I think my on-camera flash had overheated, but I didn't realize in the moment until I was going back through the photos, and I was like, oh, I think that's what happened. So it was still able to fire the off-camera flashes, but the on-camera flash wasn't firing. So in the moment though, I haven't had a flash overheat in so long that it didn't even occur to me that that's what was going on. Generally speaking, other than that, I was happy with the way we set up the lights for the ceremony. I had two crossing lit for the bride and groom, and then another one aimed towards the audience so that I could try to get reaction photos. It's always hard to get up far enough to get a good shot of the parents. I always want like another like 3 feet to really see their faces instead of just their profiles. I get a little bit, but it's just not enough. Reception lighting, I mentioned I had 3 lights for that too. I did those across, and then may have even been more like a triangle because I had one up in the center. There is like a large art piece and sort of a raise, like a spiral staircase in a way that goes up. It's like a railing. So I had one up there so that I could shoot down, and that was good for things like the speakers and the horror. I was able to get like a light sort of like centered. And Amanda gave me really good feedback. She really liked the perspective of shooting like the speakers from behind so that you could get the head table and the speakers. So it made me happy that she was happy with that. I popped over to cocktail hour, and a lot of immediate family members were on the carousel. So I shot that with all ambient light, and that came out well. There was just enough that I was able to then keep the lights from the carousel. For their first dance photos, I'm happy with the lighting on those. I liked ambient, and then enough is on them without being too hot. Dancing parties came out well. And then I did, when I would go up to get like that other angle, I would sort of dial back the flash a little bit so that it was more ambient, so you could get just like the warmth of the room with all the drapery that was back there. But I was happy with the lighting setup there. You had to keep moving quickly and making adjustments on the fly, but for the most part, they're pretty good. I did shoot a lot at 1.8, and I think for dancing, I just have to bump that up because I'm still seeing like missed focus for some, and it makes me so annoyed, especially when the lighting's good and then the focus is off. We ended up for the carousel portraits that we shot at 1048. We ended up going all on the same flashes. So we were both using the same flashes. And I was really proud of myself because it was so late and we'd been going like nonstop. And I remembered that I had recently set a channel ID in addition to the group and the channel numbers. So I was able to change all that so that we could share flashes and then had it work and then set everything back to the way that I normally have it. I think that those came out well, and some of mine are a little bit, there's some directional light, which I like. And then we just wrapped up with party dancing and the horror. And there's some decent horror pictures in there. I shot those with a 35, so they're kind of wide, just trying to get like the overall feel. And I was up a little bit, so I was getting that angle. When I first went through the photos, as always, I was like, oh my God, I don't know like if I'm happy. But going back through them, I think there are a lot in there that I do like. But it was just kind of the shock of like not being rushed. But it just, I think it was weird because it was just, we had a lot of things we wanted to accomplish at their request. And then to have them not having that sense of urgency, it just, I think it made it feel like it was a little bit more dire than it was, if that makes sense. Like you're trying to keep something on track and you just feel like you're the only people that have that goal. And so it just seems like, oh my gosh, it's completely, can get derailed. So I think that, looking back at the times, I'm like, okay, it's only off by 20 minutes here and half an hour, which is typical for a wedding. But in the moment, it just felt like it was behind more. And then Amanda gave me really nice feedback. I know that she's got some constructive criticism, which I will, gladly take so that I can learn and improve. But overall, I feel like each wedding, the receptions are getting, the dancing's getting a little bit better with the lighting and things like that. So if you're still listening, thank you so much. So my next wedding is an associate wedding that I shot, and I had a second shooter that I met for the first time. And spoiler alert, I find out that I'm missing some of my flash batteries when I get there. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Let's pack a bag and follow the sun. Kick off our shoes and have some fun.
Thanks for listening to A Second Helping. Please like and subscribe.
'Cause you and I, oh yeah, we could fly so high, so high. You and I won't let this moment pass us by, pass us by. I won't let this moment pass us by. I won't let this moment pass us by. So grab somebody, do-si-do, 'cause life's a dance floor, don't you know? Hey, there's electricity in the air, so come join the party if you dare. 'Cause you and I, oh yeah, we could fly so high.